So, all right. So let's talk about our Joel Furman. So Dr. Joel Furman, he's pretty popular in the nutrition world, in the health world. He's kind of like the Mercola, like Mercola. Like he's kind of in that same kind of like
he's a doctor.
Rock star doctor, where they do a lot of educating, they do a lot of talking, they do a lot of writing, that kind of stuff. They're well known on the internets, right? Are you searching right now for Dr. Joel Furman?
F-U-H-R-M-A-N.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I'm on his website. I've seen his books. I've never read them.
Yeah. So, I mean, he puts out really, really good stuff. He's definitely in the more whole food, plant-based, plant majority camp. He's not like anti-meat, but definitely like a less meat type of thing. Like maybe we don't need as much meat. Which, I mean, you can kind of debate here and there. I think quality matters big time, but basically did a webinar today on immunity, and how can we make sure that we're taking care of our immunity during this time, right? And first and foremost,
really quick, can you share this webinar with me?
I will. It was live, so hopefully I saw the recording button on it, so I would assume they'll send out the link afterwards, and then I will share it. But I'm actually going to share it with all the FF members too, because I think it's a really good one to listen to. It really definitely falls into with our values. So very whole food based, very plant based, heavy on the plants. And he was talking about immunity. And so first and foremost, like being healthy in the first place helps improve your immunity. So if you do catch a virus, you're able to recover from it, right? And it doesn't end up putting us into an ICU. And so that's first and foremost. And really just being healthy overall, healthy body weight, healthy daily actions, that's going to improve immunity. It's going to improve disease risk, like everything. It's going to improve everything, right? And so this isn't just like an immunity thing. It's a health thing.
Well, just like we are always thankful for our health after we've been sick. So I think like being healthy to start with is like it really is everything. Like you want to help fight against like disease and all of this kind of stuff. Being healthy fights against all array of diseases.
Right. And really being healthy comes down to daily habits, right? We can't just all of a sudden take a pill and be healthy. It's something that we have to curate over a period of time, right?
Okay. So, what measurements would you use, or could we say that we would use to measure health?
I think blood work is like first and foremost. Like you should be, looking at blood work. So he had an interesting on the white blood cell count, which was super interesting. So I think the normal range for white blood cell count is like 4 to 7 or something like that. I don't know what the units are on it, but like 4 to 7. And I don't quote me on this. I might have to look it up. But
I am.
And so basically, but what he said is 5 was kind of the cutoff mark. Below 5 is where really healthy people should be, a healthy immune system. That means that it's not overactive. And that means that you have some reserve so that when you do have a virus or do have an infection where you need to fight, you can bump up that white blood cell count very quickly rather than living at a high number all the time. And even high number.
4,000 and 11,000 per microliter of blood.
So he must have been doing it like 4 to 11. He must have been doing it per liter. I don't know what it would be per liter or something.
Well, it would be like kiloliter, so it'd be like 4 to 11 in the things that you like in your thing. So this is probably just a different number. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
So that would be considered normal is what he was talking about. If you're anywhere, so you could be at 10.9, right, and still be considered normal. So I think this is one of the hard things with blood work, right, is just because you fall within normal ranges doesn't necessarily mean you're in optimal ranges. It just means there's an absence of disease or of something that we need to take care of right now.
Well, and something to talk about is that many times I will tell people that like when you get your blood work, look at it and they're like, but the doctor said I'm in normal range. And so often we are normal, but it's not optimal. And you can ask your doctor if you're in an optimal range. And sometimes they'll look at you like you're crazy. So if you find yourself, you're on the very high end or on the very low end of the blood work, that doesn't necessarily mean you might not be in optimal range for you to feel your best. And everyone's best is a little different.
Right. And trends are more important for most things than just a single measurement. And so what's your trends over time? What's your blood work looking like year over year? Are you trending up? Is it maintaining? Is it trending down? Like, what are the trends? And then also timing during the day is super important. And so if you get blood work at one time, 1 year, if you have it right away in the morning, the next year you have it in the afternoon or evening, those are variables that can affect what's being measured. Or I should say, not necessarily what's being measured, but the reliability of what's being measured. And so getting stuff done at the same time is super, super important. So the white blood cell thing was interesting. He was, I think 5 was the number that he talked about. Being below 5 is more optimal. That means that your system isn't overreactive right now. And so I think that's where really figuring out what optimal numbers are. So blood work is a big one. I think optimal body weight is another one, not having excess fat on your body, because excess fat can be inflammatory. And so that can cause a heightened inflammation in the body. So we've got blood work, we've got that. I think just overall fitness, I think a VO2 max is probably a pretty good one. Having a pretty good VO2 max, where that means that your cardio system is humming along. I don't think it needs to be elite, but it should probably be in a good range for your age. That would be another one I'd probably look at. If someone is older, we would probably start looking at like their ability to get up and off the ground. Like, I mean, it's kind of small and easy, but just watching how someone gets off the ground, I can probably tell how well they function in everyday life by their ability to get up and off the ground, whether it's easy, whether it's hard, how many like things they need to get up and off the ground. Like, I think that's a super easy indicator. If you can just like pop up and off the ground, that's a pretty indicator that you have a nice strength to body weight ratio. Like, your ability to move around is good. So yeah, those are just off the top of my head.
One of my old clients used to tell me, he read it in like a health magazine, that if you can get up off the ground from Indian style to standing, that you will live for 5 more years. And that is how he got up and down off the floor every time I trained him, because he was making sure he was going to live for 5 more years. I was like, dude, you're not even 60 yet. I hope you're going to live for 5 more years.
There was a study that was based around that, and it was like based on how many things you needed to get off the ground kind of help determine lifespan. But that's very common, right? If you can't get up and off the ground, there's some things that are going wrong, right? And your ability to take care of yourself and be independent is starting to decrease, right?
Yep.
So those are super interesting. Was there any that you would add for like optimal health stuff? At my point in life, it's really, I look at blood work, but
I like, it sounds really weird. The other thing is, are you pooping every day? And like, it's very, very lame and very simple, but like, it's a very good gauge if your body is naturally detoxifying. If you are not pooping every day, you are not detoxifying.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and that your digestive system is extremely important. And if it's working optimally, your health is probably doing pretty well. And so that is definitely a piece that I think there's not enough attention to. Is like, poop is kind of like let's poop.
I know no one wants to talk about it, but it like really is a huge indicator of your health. For women, your cycle is another key to your health. And I think it's in a lot of women's health books that I read and stuff like that, they talk about it being the 5th vital sign is your cycle. So for cycling women, that would be mine.
Yeah, so I think all that's really good. So if you're looking at blood work, talking to your doctor about what's optimal too, I think is good. And if they don't know, because they may not, many of them haven't had like extensive training in like nutrition or in blood work. Like, they know the normal ranges, but they maybe aren't into the optimal pieces because that's just not a specialty for them. They could probably direct you to someone that could give you some more of that information. And so just ask about it. But if you don't ask, you never know, right? And you're just like, oh, it's normal, cool. But like, all right, cool. Now that we're normal, let's get to optimal, right? So the other thing, so that was interesting. Another thing that I took away from the talk that I can remember, it was interesting, was not having a really big meal before you go to bed. And so I'm actually really guilty of this one. I have a pretty big meal in the evening, mainly because I eat not a lot at lunch because I'm kind of working and doing things. And so most of my calories come in that evening meal. But I'm going to start to like rethink that a little bit. So his thinking was it disrupts sleep. So as your body is trying to digest all that food at night, you're actually kind of like stealing some resources from sleep. And so that's an interesting concept that I might start playing with a little bit and trying to do a bigger meal at lunch, or maybe a lunch and then another snack, a bigger snack, and then trying a smaller dinner.
Have you ever heard breakfast like a king, lunch like a, oh gosh, what is lunch? Lunch like a
queen?
No, it's not lunch like a queen because it's dinner like a pauper.
Right. So yeah, I mean, there definitely could be something behind that from a digestive standpoint. Personally, for me, because I don't eat breakfast and I need calories. Are you Googling things like right now, trying to figure out your?
Yeah, it's breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper.
Oh, okay, there you go. So yeah, so like that's something I think I'm going to play with a little bit to just see what impact that may have on sleep. I've got an Oura ring, so I can track some of my sleep, and see if that does change any of those data points that I get overnight.
But doesn't it also make you wonder if intermittent fasting could be beneficial if you broke your fast earlier and you stopped eating after lunch?
So if Dr. Rhonda Patrick, I think is her name, she really advocates I don't know what it's, time controlled or something like that eating, but it's earlier. So from like the first thing that you do, so like in the morning, it's even like the first thing that breaks it, whether it's coffee, whatever, that considers like breaking it, and then 8-hour window, but it's right away rather than the evening, which is super interesting, but for my life sounds super awful, because trying to get a lot of calories in early in the day. But like at the end of the day, you just kind of have to experiment, right? Like all of this, like all of our, we're pretty much the same, but all of us are a little bit different. And so we're going to react differently to different strategies. But Dr. Rhonda Patrick is an interesting one with that. And I'll see if I can figure out what it's called. But it's something like something eating. So it's just basically moving your fast into the morning. But yeah, that could be interesting too. The other thing that was super interesting from this talk was he had an acronym called G-BOMBS, the letter G and then the word bombs. And so G-BOMBS is a great way to just kind of make sure that you're getting what you need in a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So the G stands for greens. So everyone knows greens, leafy greens, that kind of stuff, even cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, even though it's not green, but that type of stuff. And then B stands for beans. So those are our legumes: black beans, kidney beans, garbanzo beans, soybeans, all of those kind of things. So we've got that category. And then the next one is O for onions. So this is the allium family. So we've got onions, we've got scallions, we've got chives, we've got garlic, those kind of things, getting those in. And then the M stands for mushrooms. Mushrooms are actually really important in some immunity in the immune system. I was actually taking a mushroom complex. I think that was on the last call that we were talking about.
It totally was about how Asher dumped it in the toilet.
Asher, yeah, I was taking a mushroom complex for a while because I was working on some stuff with my immune system, and Asher dumped it out somewhere and made it not edible. So, and I haven't got the next one. So I also cook mushrooms, typically fry them, and then maybe a little balsamic vinegar, and salt and pepper, that kind of stuff. They're really good, especially with like a steak. M for mushrooms. The second B for berries: blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. Great antioxidants, low in sugar, high in micronutrients. Really, really good there. And then the last S stands for seeds. So nuts and seeds. This is where we're going to get some of those good fats from. And it's just a really good acronym to be like, all right, am I hitting all these things? Like, am I getting all this on a regular basis? So one of the things that I think, and I'm going to start doing more of this, I've done a little bit of it, but more of this, is a big salad. Huge salad at one meal during the day. Huge salad, leafy greens. You can throw in seeds. You can get some good fats from things like an avocado oil or an olive oil. You can throw in some mushrooms. Actually, I wouldn't use mushrooms on a salad because a lot of times they want to cook mushrooms, but you could throw in.
Why not? You could cook them and put them on the salad too.
True. Very true. But you can throw some red onions on there. I mean, you could pretty much get everything in a big salad. I think a salad is just one of the best ways to get all of those micronutrients, right? All of those vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, all those things that our body needs to operate efficiently every day. So yeah, G-BOMB, super interesting concept, and acronyms are great because we can remember them, right?